Hey everybody! Yay, welcome to the team call. Sorry, I was having a couple technical difficulties, but I think we are good. So I just wanted to do a quick sound check as we're getting started here. So just let me know if audio is okay for you guys. Thank you guys. It's my golden birthday, 31 on the 31st, so that's pretty fun. I'm excited about today's team call. We're going to spend just a solid 30 minutes just kind of talking about distractions, because I've been a coach for now 3 years. So my name is Brittany LeGette, for those of you who might be new to the team or new to my YouTube channel or whatever it is, however you stumbled across this, or if you're listening to the recording. And I am the founder of Dynasty United, and I am a 15-star diamond. I was a top 10 coach because of you guys in 2014, and last year, 2015, we finished number 11. And so through all of that, and through leading an organization that is now incredibly big in a great way, there comes a lot of obstacles, and there comes a lot of sort of distractions that you have to figure out how to navigate through. So, you know, I've talked with so many of my personally sponsored coaches recently, and everyone is busy, you guys. Like, spring is busy, just like winter's busy, just like summer's busy. We're all busy. And so I wanted to take the time just to give you a little bit of just a little insight on how I've dealt with that. And whether you have children or don't have children, you're married or you're not married, you work out of the house or you stay in the home, it doesn't really matter, because all of us fill up the time that we have with things to do, with priorities that are important to us. And so sort of the main concept here, thank you guys all for the birthday wishes. I see them and I appreciate that. The main concept here is I want us to all take a solid look at our business and how we are operating on a day-to-day, on a weekly basis, how we're operating our business. Because I can't tell you how many times I receive a heartbreaking message from somebody that I believe in with all my heart, saying that they have to step back, or they're not sure that this is good for them because they can't seem to get a grip on their time management, et cetera, et cetera. And so while I of all people understand that this isn't for everyone necessarily, I believe anyone can make it work. Really, it comes down to whatever we prioritize, we get done. And so rather than saying I don't have time for something, or excuses that kind of start coming in, really the most accurate way to describe that is that it's not a priority to us. And that's why we don't make the time for it. And that's not an insult. That's just the way of life. And so I have a quick demonstration that I wanted to show you. The teacher of a side of me is going to come out. It's probably one of the oldest examples or demonstrations when it comes to time and what you have time for in your life, and how you prioritize your time and how you manage your schedule. So I'm going to show you a few things here. So let me get my science experiment ready. So, okay, so I've got a jar here, and it's full of rocks, right? And so for most people, I think that they would say that this jar is full. I mean, I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but I can't really fit many more rocks in here, right? So you can draw symbolism wherever you'd like here, but for me, I see these rocks as the most important things in our life, which are usually our family. So my spouse, maybe you have children, maybe you have, I don't know, anybody else, close friends of yours, people who rely on you, people whose tummies rely on the food that you cook, whatever it is. These rocks are taking up your entire jar. You're full. You feel like you don't know that you can fit anything else in there, right? So I would say this is full. But then all you have to do is get creative, because if you see, I'm adding more pebbles here. So technically it wasn't full, because I just have to find ways to make my priorities. Maybe this is your work, or maybe this is your health and fitness that's important to you, or maybe this is your social time with your friends that's important to you, or maybe it's a hobby that you have. And so you've got a giant a jar full of responsibilities with your family, but you've got to figure out a way to add in the things that are important to you. And so you can, as you can see, I added a ton more priorities in my life right here, and I can keep adding them until it's at the very, very top, right? Okay, so you guys get the point. So it's full, right? And so you'd say, okay, yeah, I cannot add any more to this jar. It's full to the brim, right? And then you say, okay, but what if something else is important to me, like relaxation or doing something on the weekend that I enjoy? I don't really have time for it. But then look, the sand fits in, right? So it seeps into the cracks here. This is from my 22-minute hardcore sandbag. And so you just keep fitting it in and it'll sink down. So as you can see, it's sinking down to the bottom there, where I actually, if I got creative, I could figure out a way to put that priority down here, right? And so again, you'd say, Brittany, that jar is freaking full. That jar is full. There's nothing else that I can fit in there. But then you add water, right? And here I'm putting an entire Nalgene of water in this jar. And so as you can see, now, my voice is going to go out because I'm still kind of sick, but now you've got water in there. And so, we started with a giant rock or 5 in this jar, and it felt full because that was our family, and that was the most important priority to us. And so in your business, I always want you to put your family first. Always, 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 always. Your family has to be the first in your jar. But if you get creative, you can figure out ways to give your priority to your family. Your family gets your best, your most, your best, your first. But then if you get creative, those pebbles will fit in. You just got to figure that out. And then after the pebbles, the sand, it'll fit in there. You just got to keep your mind open. And then after the sand, maybe that's your hobbies or your social life, and the water is your Beachbody business. And you just got to figure out, how am I going to fit this stuff in? You guys, the moment that you allow yourself the indulgence of saying, I'm too busy, that's the moment that your creativity disengages. You shut off that part of your brain. And the moment that you stop thinking, that's the moment when you say you're too busy, that's the moment that you stop thinking creatively about how to get other potentially important priorities into your schedule and into your routine. So I want to challenge you to continue to question and be creative about finding ways to fit things in your life. Now, I'm not saying you need to be stressed to the max 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay? That's not what I'm saying here at all. But I'm saying put the things in your jar that are most important to you. And if they are important to you, if they are a true priority of yours, you will find a way to make them fit. You won't just say, I'm too busy, because when you say I'm too busy, you shut off that creativity in your brain to figure out a way to make it work. It's sort of the easy way out, right? So when other people use busy as an excuse, successful people, whatever your definition of success is, successful people see it as a challenge, okay? So I don't just wing it in my business. I haven't for 3 years. I have always treated my business like a business. There is a strategy and there is a plan. So I'm going to show you a few slides, because if you don't think that I have distractions in my life, you're super wrong, because I do. And there are so many people on this team who need help. But in this business, no matter how big your team gets, no matter how big your accolades list is, you have to figure out a way to give your business 80% of your attention and your time. 20% goes to your team and to your customers. But if you're not putting 80% into building your own business first, you will flounder, you will feel stressed, you won't feel forward progress, and so you will be distracted, okay? So again, I have stumbled through this for 3 years now, and I figured out a few ways to make this work and to find that balance where I'm working hard, but I'm not feeling stressed out. I'm working hard, but I absolutely prioritize the things that are most important to me. My work is very important to me. My team is a priority to me. And so that's why I'm here on my birthday doing a team call, because it's not work to me. It's fun. It's a priority to me. And I know as a leader, there are things in our businesses that we do, even though there's an easier or a shorter way by just saying I'm busy, or it's my birthday, or I have family in town, or whatever it is. And I'm not saying that's bad if that's your priority, but don't expect your business to soar if it keeps getting put on the back burner. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I think I have 3 slides, just some very practical ways that I limit distraction in my business. I've done a team call in the past probably 6 months. I think it was like middle to late last year on time management, and specifically on the Pomodoro technique. So if you don't know what that is, I would highly suggest that you go back and find that team call and listen to that technique, because Pomodoro technique is very helpful. It includes a timer, which I still use in my business, and it's a great way to practice things like the power hour against a clock. We just did a live power hour, you guys, and every time, we've only done 2 of them ever, but whenever we do them, I get so much positive feedback, both in the event and in my inbox, saying, man, I really needed that to refocus, or man, I was overcomplicating this so much, or I don't know why I was putting all this stuff off when I just sat down and did it. It wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be in my head. And so, you guys, if we want to fit our priorities into our jar without feeling stressed, without feeling like a slave to any one thing, you've got to figure out how to limit your distractions. And nobody, your upline, can't do that for you. Your success partner can't necessarily do that for you. They can help you brainstorm. But at the end of the day, we've got to be in charge of our distractions. We've got to eliminate or at least limit them. And so my suggestion to you is to hear what I say. Here are some of my tips. This is literally what I do in my business on a daily basis. So take some of my tips, and I'm not saying to implement everything, but maybe implement one thing, one by one. Eliminate the things that are distracting you the most. And I guess let me back up just 1 second too. Before you do that, you've got to figure out what is the most distracting thing to you. Is it notifications? Is it your phone? Is it other family members needing you? And that's what ends up distracting you. What are the things that end up pulling you away from doing the things that you know you want to do and need to do in your business? Once you've identified the distraction, then you can figure out a plan to eliminate or at least limit them. And so things like putting your phone on do not disturb, because if somebody calls, you can set it up so if someone calls twice in a row, the phone will come through. Or maybe you need to communicate with your spouse, like, hey, I need a solid 35 minutes to get my invites out tonight. Would you mind taking care of X, Y, and Z? Or maybe if your children are older, you can let them know what's going on, or whatever it is, whatever the distraction is, carve out that time, because you guys, this business is worth it. Not just because of the financial payoff. That is like sort of an element to itself, but the satisfaction that you have when you build something like this that is so positive, that changes so many lives, that's the catalyst for so many meaningful friendships, that is a catalyst for helping people literally change the outcome of their life because of their health. Man, I don't know why anybody would give up on that. I don't know why anybody would get out of the trenches, because that work is so important. And so I want to challenge you, when life gets crazy, because it will, whether it's a tragedy, unfortunately, or it's just something going on within yourself, a season of life, it's going to get crazy. It's going to feel like you don't have the time or you're too busy. But this business is built in such a way that you don't have to have a cookie cutter schedule to build it, right? 1 week you can go all in. If your life completely falls apart the next week, you can coast. You can stay idle, and you can simply reap the benefits of being a part of a positive community. It doesn't mean, if you're not getting Success Club 55, it doesn't mean you have to quit. There's not like an either or. It's not an all or nothing. This is a lifestyle. I always tell my leaders, it's not about being fast. It's about being steadfast. And so if you're getting in your head and saying, I'm too busy, I don't have time, man, your focus is in the wrong spot. You're shutting off your brain. You're sort of cutting your legs off, because when you say you're too busy, you're giving yourself every excuse to say this isn't a priority to me. You're looking at the short term instead of the long term. You're not looking at the blessing that comes to your family, to strangers, to future teammates. You are the person that's bridging that. But if you quit, none of that happens, right? So let me get to the point here and share my slides. I'm a little bit passionate about this stuff, but let me share my slides here, because I want to give you the practical things that I do to limit or eliminate distraction. And you guys, it's taken 3 years of practice, but at this point in my business, I am good at it because I have practiced, and I have chosen not to ever give up, despite moving cross country a couple times, deaths in the family, births in the family, sickness, challenges, all kind, just life, like all of us go through. But I never quit on my business because it wasn't ever an option. So you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to give yourself permission to say, I'm in this for the long run. I'm going to be steadfast. I'm not going to be worried about how fast I soar to a rank or an income. I'm going to be about this. My life is going to be about this. I'm not going to just be about this when it's fun or when I'm being recognized or when I'm feeling on top of the world. I'm going to stick with this because I believe in the mission and I'm a part of a team that needs me. So, okay, I'm serious now. I'm going to share my slides. Okay, so I treat my business like a business, you guys, right? So here are just a few things that I do. And you guys, again, if you've been on the team for quite some time, you've heard me say this before. It's not the system that you implement that makes you successful. So again, let me say that again. So like, it's not the actual system that makes you successful. So it's not that I do X, Y, or Z. It's that you actually do a system. So I know that's kind of like a lot of the same words, but it's not the system that makes you successful. It's doing a system. So, okay, so first thing that I do in my business, I told you I treat my business like a business. I mean that pretty seriously. I set up my week and my month ahead of time. I go hard on my business Monday through Thursday, and I mean hard. And I'm not saying this is what you need to do, but this is what I do. I work a focused business day and usually night, Monday through Thursday, every single week. And then I take Friday through Sunday and I just take it easy. I don't ever take a break on my business. Some people were going on the cruise and they asked if I was going to unplug. And the answer is no. And that's not saying that you don't have to. I just don't. I don't do it that way. My business fills me back up. I figured out a way to build my business so that it fuels me. It doesn't drain me. And so I personally don't unplug when I go on vacation because this is my way of life. This is what I love to do. And again, I'm not saying that has to be you. If you want to unplug and be like completely unplugged, that is absolutely your prerogative because this is your business. You are the CEO. Personally, I don't do that. I go hard Monday through Thursday. I am creating templates. I'm doing recognition. I'm looking at the growth of my leaders. I'm reaching out personally to people. I'm talking with my customers and thinking of new ways to improve my challenge groups. This is what I do all the time. And then Friday through Sunday, I'm focused on filling up my mental energy. And so that usually means if my husband's in town, that usually means spending time with my husband. If he's not in town, that's pretty challenging. But I figure out ways to do it. I still check in. I still post on social media. I might answer an email or two, but I'm not going hard like I do Monday through Thursday. That's the balance that works for me. And so over 3 years, there have been countless overnights, countless all-night working, building a team website, creating a new template, building a video series, whatever it is, because I'm passionate about it, because I want to get it done. I want to serve my team. I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but that's what I do. I create opportunities for the team, for my personally sponsored coaches, and I stick to it. So you can even see, it's not intended for you to be able to read the entire calendar, but you can see this calendar, the first block column is a Monday. So Monday through Thursday, there's a lot going on for me, for me and my personally sponsored coaches. And then you see Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's not much planned because that's when I fill back up. That's when I refuel. But this is pretty much what my team calendars look like every single month. I don't take a month and say, oh, I'm not going to do one-on-one calls this month. I don't take a month and say, oh, I'm not going to do a challenge group this month. You guys, I've done a challenge group, at least one challenge group, if not two, and a coach training group every month since I became a coach. And most of them have been, there's been something in there that I could improve, or I've fallen flat on my face, or participation dropped completely, or people weren't quite excited about the content in there, or whatever. My groups are never perfect, you guys, but the point is they happen. The show goes on every single month, and I just try to improve. I try to improve month to month. So 3 years, this is how I set up my weeks and how I set up my months. I go hard on Mondays, and I take a break after, usually Thursday afternoon is usually like when I start to kind of unwind a little bit. Like today's the last day of the month. You better believe I'm not going to completely check out, because I'm going to be there for my team who's trying to hit Success Club. That's just how it is for me. I don't unplug like that. I want to be there. I want to show that I support them, and that's how I treat my business like a business. I show up. And the second thing here is this is just something that I use. Again, this is not saying that you have to use the things that I use, but I use Asana as a project manager. I give myself due dates, you guys. So I don't just say, oh man, I'd like to redo my challenge group cover photo. I don't just say, oh, I'd like to do that. I say, I'm going to do that by April 2nd. And I put it in this little system called Asana, and it gives me a deadline, and it notifies me when my deadline is approaching. And so this is yet another way that I treat my business like a business, because we all know what happens if you don't give yourself a deadline. Before you know it, 6 months have passed, and you just kind of forgot to do it. And that's because we're all normal and we're trying to do our best in life. So I give myself due dates on almost every project that's important to me. I put it in here, I assign it to myself, and I give myself a due date. So I have a wonderful assistant now, and her and I have very clear communication through Asana. Now, before you say, oh, well, that must be nice, I don't have an assistant. I did not have an assistant until the very end of my second year as a coach. So it's truly no excuse. You don't need an assistant to thrive in your business. But at some point, your organization will grow to such a degree that in order to maintain the attention to detail that you want in your team, I highly recommend finding a like-minded person that will help you with that. And that's what Casey is to me, my assistant. I couldn't do half of what I do without my assistant now. And so, but anyway, like that's another way that I treat my business like a business. Her and I tackle important tasks for the team on a daily basis. So that's what I use Asana for, project management basically. And within that, I give myself due dates. Okay, so another thing that is important to me here is email. And I've said this probably 1,000 times to most of my PS pages, on my PS pages, but excuse me, at some point in your business, I believe the best strategy is to move your conversations to email. The reason for that is a long list of things, but main thing is so that you can stay organized and so that you don't lose contact information if anything were to happen to your Facebook account. So don't panic. It's not something you need to do this afternoon. Just keep it in the back of your mind as your team grows past Diamond, Star Diamond. To me, that's the time where you really need to be considering the possibility of moving conversations over to email. Does anybody right now use email primarily, or are you guys using Facebook Messenger as your main avenue of conversations? If you don't mind commenting in the chat box when you hear that. So is it email that you guys use, or do you use Facebook Messenger? So I use Streak. Streak is a plugin on Gmail. Again, you don't have to use Streak. You do not have to use my system at all. I'm just saying you got to use a system. So I use Streak with Gmail, and it's wonderful for me. It helps my brain process things. It helps me keep my customers organized. And most importantly for me, I am able to give the attention to detail that I want, because I don't have to search through a million messages on Facebook and figure out who it was that I was talking about with their, with the help that they, the person that said they really needed help to do X, Y, or Z. So that's cool. I'm happy to see so many of you guys use email. That's awesome. So I personally use Streak. If you want to use Streak, go for it. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. That's how I learned. But I organize my email with Streak. And so it limits distractions because I'm not on Facebook getting a bunch of other notifications and emails at the same time that I'm trying to build relationships or follow up with my challengers or my coaches, my coach prospects. So email is a giant avenue for me to limit Facebook distractions because I'm not even on Facebook. So again, this is just an example of a pipeline of one of my previous challenge groups. And you've got to use it in Chrome. It's a Chrome plugin. And so for me, this works for me. I have a pipeline for virtually every group I ever do. And it works. So if you're considering moving off of Facebook, or if you're just looking for a little bit more organization and using email, I highly consider taking a weekend and researching Streak and seeing if it's going to be a good fit for you. There are many others, you guys. TeamZ, One Page CRM. I'm sure there's others that I don't even know about. And again, it's not the system necessarily. Personally, I love Streak, and I'll say a million times, I think Streak is amazing, but you use what works for you, and you use what makes sense for you. So I use Streak. All of my conversations are through email. If they start on Facebook, if somebody reaches out to me on Facebook, I'm getting them over to email immediately. So that's how I operate my business. And then the second thing on this slide here is, you guys, there is a team website at your fingertips. If I was a new coach, or if I was a coach still in the process of building my business to Diamond and Star Diamond, I would be committed to checking that team website for all the updates that are coming out. It is a labor of love for sure, and I'm happy to do it. Just takes a little bit of time to add as much valuable info as I want to, but it's in there. Specifically taking the plunge and getting started, all that stuff for our new coaches is in there, complete with audio guides, script examples, templates of graphic examples or invite examples. So I would be there. I would be using that as it would probably be always open, an open tab in my on my computer for me to check into on a regular basis for ideas, to be a student of my career, to be a student of my craft that I'm trying to perfect and the rhythm that I'm trying to catch. I would be on this team website soaking up as many resources as I possibly can. Same thing with the team Facebook pages. No matter what your big team is, I would be in that group, and I would be looking in the magnifying glass for keywords. I would be looking in the file section or on leaders' YouTube pages just to see what they've talked about in the past, to see how it could help me. You guys, so many of you do that, which shows in your businesses, but I'm just showing you this is yet another resource that I feel is very important to be at one of the tops of your list, to be learning and growing as a leader. Okay, last slide here, and I'm on time. The last couple ways that I treat my business like a business and limit or eliminate distraction is I use custom Facebook lists. So if you don't know how to do that, again, you can probably Google or YouTube that. Very simple though. You can just create a custom list on Facebook. Basically what happens is when you click on that, you click on it kind of like a group if you add it to your favorites. And so you would click on this, and your entire news feed would only have the people that you've added to that list. So it's not going to have all the other coaches in the network or all the other random people that are on your Facebook feed. It's only going to have people that you've added to this list. So for instance, I do every 3 months a challengers list. And so this is an example of my March, April, and May challengers are all on one list. And so I go there every day, or almost every day, and I try to make sure that I interact with their posts, if they post, as often as possible. That's another way for me to stay connected to my customers, my challengers, show them that I care about them, and honestly learn a little bit more about their life, what they're doing, which oftentimes gives me an opportunity to deepen our relationship, whether they post something that kind of struck my interest, or I had advice about, or I could relate to, etc. So I use these lists for my challengers, my prospects, and my new coaches, because you guys, as your team grows, as your Facebook grows, your new coaches, you might not see their posts. That's just the reality of how Facebook works. And so I highly recommend that you make a list for your new coaches so that you can see their posts, so that you can give them the love and encouragement that they need as they're kind of stepping out of their comfort zone. So again, this has taken me 3 years to practice, and I'm nowhere near perfect, but this is what I do to eliminate the distractions of the news feed and scrolling. I've got custom lists that I go to on a regular basis to make sure that I'm interacting. And so the last point here that I kind of want to drive home is that there is a rhythm to my madness. Now, I am a full-time Beachbody coach. I work full-time almost every day. I mean, I told you my schedule. I go hard Monday through Thursday, and then I'm kind of light Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday night, I'm usually kind of back in the rhythm. And so that's just what works for me. I usually work 7 days a week. And that works for me, though, because like I told you, my daily stuff, I've figured out a way to balance it so that I don't feel stressed out and overwhelmed. And so I do my important things at the beginning of the week, the stuff that has to be done in order to build a business, to grow a business, to support a thriving team. And then my weekend is more fun stuff, more creative stuff, more, like I told you, to replenish my mental energy stuff. But there is a rhythm to the madness. I've been following this schedule for the most part for about 3 years. Now, I worked a ton my first year, a ton, and I still work a lot. But I just had to tweak it as I went. And for those of you who don't know, I was working full-time as a nurse when I first began as a coach. So I understand that balance. I understand trying to figure that out. But the thing is, just don't give up. Just keep working at it. And you know what? Just because something works for one person doesn't mean that's going to be your flow. Doesn't mean that's going to be best for your family schedule. So have the boldness, have the courage to go out on a limb and try something that you feel is going to work for your family. And just try it. You guys, when I need a break, I take a break. I don't say I've got to work Monday through Thursday, 40 hours in that time frame. If I'm feeling like, for instance, if we're pushing really hard for a specific goal, or it's end of the month stuff and I'm maybe working a little more to try to help my coaches lock in their goal of success club or whatever it might be, I might take the next few days and take a little break. But that's our prerogative again. The thing is, I'm in charge of my motivation. Nobody is going to motivate me. Motivation comes from within. And so there is a discipline that's required. If you need a break, man, you take a break. You take a break. But it's up to you to say, you know what? I took a break. What was it that kind of overwhelmed me? Or what was it that I needed a break from? Was that just like normal business building? Or do I need to tweak the way that I do some things? Because it's up to you to light that fire again. Motivation cannot come from your upline. It cannot come from your success partner, your spouse, whoever. Motivation has to come from within, and that requires a deep, deep, deep exploration, and that's going to take time, but a deep exploration of why you are working this business. What is it that you want to accomplish? You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to have a why, and you've got to believe in yourself. So that means you've got to be in personal development. Everyone is busy. No matter what your lifestyle, your season of life looks like, everyone is busy. Just because so-and-so has older kids, or so-and-so doesn't have kids, or so-and-so has a baby who sleeps through the night, it doesn't mean that their schedule is easier than anyone else's. It just means it's a little bit different. So you've got to be flexible. You've got to find your rhythm. So these two pictures here that I included are just a very personal way of how I stay organized of what's important to me. The little piece of paper with the highlighted marks on the left, that's just how I keep track of how my newer coaches are doing with their Success Club goals. And I'm very transparent about that in my groups and in messages with people. But that's how I, as a leader, make sure that I'm invested in the things that are so important to them And also because I'm their leader, I know how important it is for them to hit Success Club in order to reach the goals that they have set for themselves. So that's that piece of paper. I literally highlight when they reach Success Club. That's how I keep track of it, because that is important to me. That is a support that I always want to offer to my coaches. And so I don't want them to feel like I have no clue where they're at in their business. I do know, because I track it, because I care about them. And then the picture with all the whiteboards on the right, this is how I've done my business since virtually day one, more like month 6 when I knew what a team was. But from 5-star push to 15-star push, this is what I do. Each business center has a whiteboard, and each person's name is up there if they either have told me that they're pushing for a rank goal, or if they're just simply getting close because of the growth of their team. And so I map out people's downlines. This is a picture that's a little bit old now. It's like 2.5 weeks old now, but I map their downline, not because I'm in control of it, not because I'm going to tell them what to do, but because if I'm a leader that says I care about community, I better know who is in my community. I better know who is in my leaders' communities. That's important to me. And so when I see, I always put Amanda on the spot, or maybe I'll put Meg on the spot. Anyway, I have a ton of wonderful, motivated, kick butt coaches right now. If I am going to be the leader that I want to be to them, I want to be able to say, hey, Meg, your coach so-and-so is doing amazing. Like, how is that going for you? Or Amanda, I see so-and-so is doing amazing. She's halfway to Emerald. Like, do you need any help with that? Or how is that going for you? To me, it's not about what are you doing to get to a rank. It's about how can I help you? How can I keep this personal, know these people by name, and do my best as their mentor just to offer any insight or help from my journey and the lessons that I've learned in my business. So that's what that is. But that's how I treat my business like a business. That's where I put my money where my mouth is, and I track this stuff. You guys, do I want to necessarily look through the drill down and write a ton of names on a whiteboard? That's not really that fun, but it helps me limit distraction because I have it right there in front of my face. So when I have a one-on-one call, let's just say with Krista, I have her whole downline right there in front of my face. And so I don't have to scramble through a bunch of other, other reports. Or when Tara is just kicking butt in her business, I can simply say, look, this is awesome. You are like 2 coaches away from hitting your big goal, or 4 coaches away from hitting your giant goal that you set for 3 months from now, So it helps me personalize my mentorship. So, this is kind of like the main piece here, is that if you want to treat your business like a business, if you want to see your business thrive, what are you doing? What are you doing to stay organized? What are you doing to limit that distraction? And you guys, I've said this a million times too, but you don't have to be the most organized person to see success in this business. Absolutely not. You can be a little bit all over the place. You can be messy. You can be forgetful, but it will make your life so much easier if you figure out a few things, a few systems in your business to help you stay organized and focused. If you can stay focused, if you can limit one distraction this week, your brain will feel lighter. You will have room for creativity. You will feel like it's much easier to maintain the flow of your business if you figure out a way to limit these distractions. So I think I heard, or I saw somebody ask a question here. Okay, yeah. Do you ever feel overwhelmed? How do you combat that? Okay. I absolutely feel overwhelmed. You guys, there are over 5,500 coaches in Dynasty United. My inbox is at 99 plus on Facebook on a daily basis. My phone goes off all the time and I forget text messages. I am human. Of course I feel overwhelmed from time to time. I just think that practicing focusing on the most important things has helped me to eliminate that overwhelmed feeling. As well as I've just learned that putting one foot forward is the only thing that's in my control, and that's the only thing that I can do. It might not have the stamp of approval of everyone else in my life, but all I can do is my best. All I can do is move forward in any small way on a daily basis. And to me, if I'm doing that, that's my personal best. And I think you just have to learn or practice convincing yourself that that's all of us can do in our life, is do our very best. And if you're doing that, you should go to bed satisfied, whether you hit a goal or miss a goal. If I wrote out all my missed goals, man, we wouldn't have room for them. I just learned not to care that much because life will go on, and because the work that we're doing is important. It's not all about recognition and money and points. When you have grown a business like I have through struggle and trial and triumph, you learn to just appreciate the journey, because that's what is most important anyway. That is the most important part. Success to me is not on a billboard or on a web page or in a PicMonkey graphic. Success to me is thousands of people, like I've told you, in Dynasty United who feel positive support on a regular basis, people who have come out of postpartum depression, people who have found friendships within the team that otherwise they wouldn't have ever had, to support them through life. Because to me, life is about more than fitness and chicken. Life is about people and community and support and growth and giving and being generous. That's me, though. To me, that is what makes my heart beat. That's why Dynasty United's community is so important to me. And I will always show up no matter what the day is. No matter what the date is on my calendar, I will show up for the team because it's that important to me. So once you figure out what is so important to you in your business, why you're doing this, I feel like you will be better able to handle those seasons of feeling overwhelmed. And again, you've got to pump your brain and your heart full of personal development, full of thoughts, advice, encouragement from people who have gone before us, people outside of Beachbody. I think that's a very important thing, to be reading and learning from people who aren't necessarily just coaches, who are experts in the field, who have gone through life, who have studied much more than I have on the principles that I need to learn. So you guys, I just kind of want to reiterate, the moment that you allow yourself the indulgence of saying, I'm too busy, that's when your creativity shuts off. Your brain completely disengages from any creative endeavor to figure it out. When you say I'm too busy, that's the moment that you stop thinking creatively about how to get potentially important priorities to all fit in a balanced way in your life. Now, you might have to cut things out. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. My first few years of the business, I didn't watch an ounce of television ever. At all. And that's just what it was. I hardly ever went out with my friends. I hardly ever did. And I'm not saying that's what you should do. Maybe that's how you fill back up. But for me, it was a sacrifice. It was a short-term sacrifice that not very many people understood. But on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I filled back up socially with my husband, with my friends. But I sacrificed the time in order to build my business. You guys, it's not easy. It's not easy for anyone, but the payoff is just giant. It's gigantic. It's much more than I ever thought. And the most exciting part to me is to know that that's what's in store for every single coach of Dynasty United, if you stick with it. If you eliminate the I'm busy excuse. If you eliminate that thought of I have to do all or nothing. You just figure it out. You figure it out. You put one foot in front of the other. You figure out a way to plug into success pods or mastermind groups so that you have that encouragement. You figure out how you personally fill back up mentally and require that of yourself. Require that of yourself. Whether it costs money or it's free, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a massage or a walk in the park, it doesn't really matter. But figure out a way to replenish your mental energy on a weekly basis, no matter what. Put it on your calendar just like a call, and that will help you. So that's all I have for you. I wanted to talk about distractions because they're real. It's something you're going to have to just work through, but I wanted to share with you those 6 to 9 tips that I had that I personally use in my business to eliminate or limit the distractions so that I can get my work done, so that 80% of my work is on my personal business. Creatively branding myself, like building my business to a degree that I'm proud of. not necessarily in volume or size, but just in the daily activities. Like, can I feel good about the way that I'm building my business? If the answer is yes, I'm good. I'm filled. And I want you to have that same satisfaction, to do your very best. So set your days up, set your weeks up so that you have that a little bit of structure, that you've sort of set yourself up with a few checkpoints or a few systems that eliminate the distractions so that you can maintain your flow, that you don't feel like you're all over the place. And give yourself grace in the process, because this has taken me 3 years, over 3 years. 3 years was in January. So we're past the 3-year mark now. So you guys eliminate the I'm too busy, because you don't want to cut yourself off from that creative process of figuring out a way to fit things in your life that are most important to you. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me, 45 minutes now, but I love you all. I'm so proud of you. This business doesn't play favorites. So if you can foster that belief in yourself and maintain that motivation, be responsible, personally responsible for the motivation that you have, you're going to soar. So Google Streak if you want to use it. Google how to create a custom Facebook list if you'd like to use it. Maybe get a whiteboard or two so that you can track your team's growth. But thank you so much for hopping on with me. Don't just wing it. Have a strategy, have a plan, and limit your distractions. Okay, guys, have a great week. Happy Thursday.